True peace, true peace. Peace, everybody. Happy holy day. Happy holy day. Welcome to the World Temple, branch temple number 24 of the Moorish Science Temple of America. I am your host tonight, Grand Sheik Dr. Lawiy. We're going to get it started. First thing first, I want to give honors to the divine creators, upon with the Allah, El Ali, El Aliyun, the source, the Heavenly Father and Divine Mother, Anu and Anutum. I want to give honors to the Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I want to give honors to the forerunner of the Prophet, Honorable Marcus Garvey. I want to give honors to the Messenger, Elijah Muhammad. I want to give honors to our Moorish pioneers, such as C.M. Bay. I want to give honors to some of our great Moorish writers, such as H.I.M. Bay. I want to give honors to other leaders that came and continue on the science and the teachings of the Prophet, such as Clarence 13X with the gods and goddesses. Honors to the master teacher, Dr. H.I.M. I want to give honors to all the wonderful Moorish orators, speakers, teachers, adepts, all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, all the Moors across the world, indigenous peoples and indigenous peacemakers all across the world. Welcome. And last but not least, I want to give honors to everything Moorish. So with that, y'all, it is Moorish History Month, what we call Black History Month here in the United States of America. And let's enjoy ourselves today. I hope y'all having a wonderful holy day today. I sure am myself. And we're going to make it a beauty. With that, let's jump right into our divine supplication. Let's get started here for this week's holy day. So first thing first, we begin our prayers and thinking by using El Kalun, the All. O Heavenly One, the Most High, who is sustainer of all the worlds, we do accept the duty you have laid on us to clean up the filth made by the West and its non-submitting fools. O my sustainer, we beseech you to keep your hand over us to control the strings of the courses of our lives. Our sustainer, and if we do wrong, please show our divine blessings and forgiveness on us. You are the only one that can raise us, true followers of the news bearers, and in thy name, we carry on. Peace. All right, y'all, so let's go ahead and jump into our 19 affirmations. From the Family Guide. So this is our daily affirmations that everyone with their family should be getting into, should be sitting down with your family and studying over these affirmations and what we accept as fact. These are the daily affirmations of loyalty of the children of the Elohim. And we accept as fact the eternal laws of nature as revealed through science, past events, logic, and common sense, revealed as right knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. We accept as fact the highest laws of nature is the cooperation and harmony of all living things. We accept as fact our way of life is a means to the best end. We accept as fact that loyalty is the greatest of all honors and treason is the worst of all crimes. We accept as fact that what is good for the Holy Tabernacle is the highest virtue and what is bad for the Holy Tabernacle is the ultimate evil. We accept this fact that the Holy Tabernacle is the finest and noblest organization for all humanity, created by circumstances, and the ancient and mystic order of Melchizedek is the noblest of fraternities on and above this planet. We accept this fact that creativity, love, and cooperation are the essence of success. We accept this fact that truth and facts are always and has always been the originator and creator of all success. We accept this fact that all worthwhile cultures and civilizations came about from the ancient Sumerians and Canaanite Egyptians and the Anunnaki, or Elohims from the heavens, without which there would be none. We accept this fact that for the Holy Tabernacle to survive, expand, and advance, we need, first of all, a revolution of values and thoughts, which must start within each person by being truthful with themselves and about themselves. Therefore, we completely and categorically reject all myths, fictions, religions, and lies that have not been proven. That would include your heavens, your hellfires, and brimstones, your horn and pitchfork devils, your winged angels, and your old man God character sitting on the throne up there somewhere. We deal strictly with facts. If you can't prove it, we don't want to hear it. That doesn't mean we won't listen to you. Just don't expect us to accept your beliefs by virtue of a title such as Reverend, Pastor, Deacon, Imam, Sheik, Rabbi, Minister, Theologian, etc. That is your sensationalism, and we deal with just the facts. We accept this fact that the only true revolution is a war of good against evil, right against wrong, fairness against unfairness, loyalty against disloyalty, sincerity against insincerity, honesty against dishonesty, and this war is fought within each person among the agreeable and disagreeable Elohims that make up your willpower. We accept this fact that the unity of our community and its success will only happen with cooperation with all involved. We accept this fact that total unification of all humanity on the basis of truth, that is, accepting people and races for who and what they are, respecting their culture, their languages, and their beliefs, and expect the same. We accept this fact that the human race's biological and cultural heritage is now under attack by our own morals, our self-righteousness, our desire to control industry, and these things attack the very existence of humanity. We accept this fact that males as well as females are equal in all things and should be dealt with as partners in all matters. We accept this fact that no one race of people is better than the other. In fact, no one wins the race in racism. We accept this fact that communication between different people is the cure to the ignorance that breeds the disease hate. We accept this fact that a good and well-rounded education could prevent most of the ignorance that plagues the world. We accept this fact that the all is just that. The all, you can't take from the all. You can't add to the all. We are all within the all as one. That is our concept of what you call a deity. To the fulfillment of these facts, we children of the Elohim forever pledge our lives, our sacred honor, and our spiritual zeal. True peace, true peace. So let's get into our Moorish prayer for tonight. We're going to move forward with the divine constitution. And as it states, so y'all know how it go. Put 2 fingers up, 5 fingers up, facing the east, feet at a 45-degree angle. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, true peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through His holy prophet, Noble Torah. Amen. All right, so let's get into the divine constitution, the bylaws, as it reads. Act 1. The Grand Sheik and the chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the Grand Sheik in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. All meetings are to be open. Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man was departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are a part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. This organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we're teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Lawiy, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Zabuwr, through the guidance of his father God Allah. True peace. True peace, true peace, true peace. So let's get into our weekly readings, which is coming from El's Holy Qur'aan, Circle 7. We're going to jump right into chapter 25 of the Moorish Science Temple of America, called the Holy Covenant of the Asiatic Nation. And it reads, Ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother had given you suck. That the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him. If thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all in your love to each other. True peace, true peace, true peace. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and dive into chapter 47. And it reads, The inhabitants of Africa are the descendants of the ancient Canaanites from the land of Canaan. Old man Cush and his family are the first inhabitants of Africa who came from the land of Canaan. His father Ham and his family were second. Then came the word Ethiopia, which means the demarcation line of the dominion of Amexem, the first true and divine name of Africa. The dividing of the land between the father and the son, the dominion of Cush, northeast and southeast Africa, and northwest and southwest Africa was his father's dominion of Africa. In later years, many of their brethren from Asia and the Holy Lands joined them. The Moabites from the land of Moab, who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit northwest Africa, they were the founders and are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire, with their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren, who sovereign from the land of Canaan, seeking new homes. Their dominion and inhabitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa across Great Atlantis, even unto the present North, South, and Central America, and also Mexico and the Atlantis Islands before the great earthquake which caused the Great Atlantic Ocean. The river Nile was dredged and made by the ancient pharaohs of Egypt in order to trade with the surrounding kingdoms. Also, the Niger River was dredged by the great pharaoh of Egypt in those ancient days for trade, and it extends eastward from the river Nile westward across the Great Atlantic. It was used for trade and transportation. According to all true and divine records of the human race, there is no Negro, black, or colored race attached to the human family, because all the inhabitants of Africa were and are of the human race, descendants of the ancient Canaanite nation from the Holy Land of Canaan. What your ancient forefathers were, you are today, without doubt or contradiction. There's no one who is able to change man from the descendant nature of his forefathers, unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator Allah himself. These holy and divine laws are from the prophet, Zabuwr, the founder of the uniting of the Moorish Science Temple of America. These laws are to be strictly preserved by the members of all the temples of the Moorish Science Temple of America, that they will learn to open and lead and guide it according to the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Every subordinate temple of the Grand Major Temple is to form under the covenant of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and to create their own laws and customs in conjunction with the laws of the Holy Prophet and the Grand Temple. I, the prophet Noble Ali, was sent by the great God Allah to warn all Asiatics of America to repent from their sinful ways before that great and awful day that is sure to come. The time has come when every nation must worship under its own vine and fig tree, and every tongue must confess its own. Through sin and disobedience, every nation has suffered slavery due to the fact that they honored not the creed and principles of their forefathers. That is why the nationality of the Moors was taken away from them in 1774, and the word Negro, black in color, was given to the Asiatics of America, who were of Moorish descent, because they honored not the principles of their mother and father, and strayed after the gods of Europe, of whom they knew not. Peace, peace, peace. So, the messages of the Moorish Science Temple, World Temple, Branch Temple number 24, is clear cut. It's very clear cut. Prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. Tie it to your own vine and fig tree, or strengthen the connection between your own vine and fig tree. It's clear cut. True peace, Brother Burn. I'm about to jump right into chapter 48. You right on time. All's well? So let's do this. It will be officially open for today. So chapter 48, called The End of Time and the Fulfilling of the Prophecies in the Holy Qur'an, Circle 7. It reads, the last prophet in these days is Noble Ali, who was prepared divinely in due time by Allah to redeem men from their sinful ways, and to warn them of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. John the Baptist was the forerunner of Jesus in those days, to warn and stir up the nation, and prepare them to receive the divine creed which is to be taught by Jesus. In these modern days, there came a forerunner of Jesus who was divinely prepared by the great God Allah, and his name is Marcus Garvey, who did teach and warn the nations of the earth to prepare to meet the coming prophet, who was to bring the true and divine creed of Islam, and his name is Noble Ali, who was prepared and sent to this earth by Allah to teach the old-time religion and the everlasting gospels to the sons of man, that every nation shall and must worship under their own vine and fig tree, and return to their own and be one with their Father God Allah. The Moorish Science Temple of America is a lawfully chartered and incorporated organization. Any subordinate temple that desires to receive a charter, the Prophet has them to issue to every state throughout the United States, etc., that the world may hear and know the truth, that among the descendants of Africa there is still much wisdom to be learned in these days for the redemption of the sons of man under love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. We, as a clean and pure nation descended from the inhabitants of Africa, do not desire to amalgamate or marry into the families of the pale-skinned nations of Europe, neither serve the gods of their religion, because our forefathers are the true and divine founders of the first religious creed, for the redemption and salvation of mankind on earth. Therefore, we are returning the church and Christianity back to the European nations as it was prepared by their forefathers for their earthly salvation, while we, the Moorish Americans, are returning to Islam, which was founded by our forefathers for our earthly and divine salvation. The covenant of the great God Allah, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the earth land which the Lord thy God Allah had given thee. Come, all ye Asiatics of America, and hear the truth about your nationality and birthright, because you are not Negroes. Learn of your forefathers' ancient and divine creed, that you will learn to love instead of hate. We're trying to uplift fallen humanity. Come and link yourself with the family of nations. We honor all true and divine prophets. Islam. All right, so this week I want to touch on how we are divided against ourselves. And of course, we have the holy instructions for why these things are the way they are. The internal prejudices that we have against ourselves as people. Some people will classify it as self-hate, which is a portion of it. Portion of it is self-hate. Um, it's also fear and other things that have been embedded within us as people. But before I really just dive in, I want to touch on these holy instructions of the prophet and make sure we discuss those properly, because we haven't touched on them here in a while. So just want to make sure we get a refresher on just what holy instructions are coming from the prophet that are in the in the in the Holy Quran Circle 7. So we were given instruction from the prophet, and the first instruction is a warning to our young men. So I'm gonna actually read this one because this is real key, especially when we have situations that keep happening, and it's all, it ends up all over the media with our young men. So I'm gonna read chapter 20 as it reads, and it's called Holy Instructions and Warnings for All Young Men. It states, "Beware, young man, beware of all the allurements of wantonness, and let not the harlot tempt thee to excess in her delight. The madness of desire shall defeat its own pursuits. From the blindness of its rage, thou shalt rush upon destruction. Therefore give not up thy heart to her sweet enticement, neither suffer thy soul to be enslaved by her enchanting delusion. The fountain of health, which must supply the stream of pleasure, shall quickly be dried up, and every spring of joy shall be exhausted. In the prime of thy life, old age shall overtake thee. The sun shall decline in the morning of thy day. But when virtue and modesty enlighten her charms, the luster of a beautiful woman is brighter than the stars of heaven, and the influence of her power it is in vain to resist. The whiteness of her bosom transcendeth it, the lily. Her smile is more delicious than a garden of roses. The innocence of her eyes is like that of the turtle. Simplicity and truth dwell in her heart. The kisses of her mouth are sweeter than honey. The perfumes of Arabia breathe from her lips. Shut not thy bosom to the tenderness of love. The purity of its flame shall ennoble thy heart and soften it to receive the fairest impression." So what the prophet is saying right here is that we don't want to fall victim to what we understand to be chaotic energy, lunar energy, low vibrational energies, which are typically moon-based energy, or lunar-based. So I wanted to read that instruction from the prophet because we had recent incidents that's showing deliberately the prejudice that we have against ourselves, the racism that we exercise against ourselves. So the next instruction coming from the prophet is the marriage between the woman and the man, and these are marriage instructions coming from the prophet. The prophet also has instructions given to us, to the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America and the citizens, on how we conduct ourselves with our children. So this particular instruction really talks about us building trust with our children and our duty to support, and how we raise them as useful people in our community, preparing our children early with instruction, which we have those instructions given to us by the prophet and other leaders that came about. Then we have the holy instructions of unity. So we have the covenant, which says not prefer a stranger before thy own blood. And then we have the holy instruction of unity coming from the prophet. Then we have the unity between the rich and the poor. So there's a natural correspondence between those who are rich and between those who are poor. There's a balance. We have instructions between those who are masters and those who are servants, those who are employers and those who are employees. So you have masters and you have apprentices who serve a master. So you have an adept, and then you have a grand sheik. You have a sheik as adept who are servant of the grand sheik to help serve the community, or whether it's the pharaoh or etc. Then we were given instructions about our social duty. We was given instructions about justice, about charity, about showing gratitude, about our sincerity. Are you sincere? Are you genuine? We was given instructions about the religion. A lot of people like to separate spirituality and religion, but technically they are the same. A lot of people just choose the religion of spirituality. We was given instructions about knowing who we are, knowing thyself. Know thyself. And these are chapters in the Holy Qur'an, Circle 7, that we should read, and that we do read in here, week to week. Whatever spirit guides us to read, we read. Just as I read the holy instructions that are given to the young men. We have instructions for the holy breath, the breath, what we call the breath of heaven. We have instructions about the soul of men, the soul of our people. We have instructions about the pinnacles of our wisdom, our knowledge, the heights and depths of our knowledge and wisdom. We have instructions about being inconsistent, our instability. And our weakness and a lack of knowledge, as well as misery, because we know misery loves company. We're not here to trauma bond. We're not here to gather up as religious fanatics. We're here to come in the divine unity. So let's get into what I want to touch on tonight, which is, like I said, the prejudices that we have amongst ourselves. So peace, peace, peace. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the World Temple, branch temple number 24 of the Moorish Science Temple of America. We are a globally chartered and incorporated temple of the Moorish Science Temple of America. We're teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed. If you would like to join us, click that great block of words up at the top. Or it's black now, I'm sorry, but that block of words up at the top that says World Temple. And go ahead and join us, give us a join, and follow all the moderators that you see modded in the room. And make sure you follow them as well. And let's get it started today. As the message comes down and trickles itself down through. So, like I said, tonight I want to touch on our prejudices amongst ourselves, the hate amongst ourselves, the self-hate, which is a topic that comes up, more often than none. And not to beat a dead horse, though we have to acknowledge the things that are taking place amongst the community. A lot of the division, a lot of the Hegelian dialectic, which is the language of dividing and conquering. And who has been divided and conquered as a people? Mostly, it has been us. It has been us, people, and divided, conquered. So jumping into the fact that there's many different moving parts of the divine and national movement, I want to go first into how we are connected as people. And this is proven by way of our language. Our language, how we communicate with one another. We have to understand that language itself is coming from our ancient ancestors from this planet and those that are not from this planet. So we have to get down to the nitty-gritty of the situation, which we know that our people are disconnected from their root. They don't know who they are. And that starts with the language, how we communicate with each other. Because a lot of this self-hate, division, fear, and things like that comes from the lack of knowledge. A lack of knowledge, instability, that we're given instruction. Our people are simply ignoring facts. We are destroyed. We, as a people, are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Because a lot of the things that take place with us, if we were tapping into nature and operating from higher vibration, the things that happen to us, the things that we attract, would be different. So we have to look into this from our communication standpoint first thing I want to touch on, which we have to dive into our dialect and our different languages, or our language and our different dialects, because there's more dialect than anything. And we want to communicate the language of the divine, of the Heavenly Father and Divine Mother, the language of God, of the Elohim, Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, our higher self, as they were called. So, what is the Kodesh, the Shun, or the Sun, the holy language, as they were called? What is that? Because we have so many different, like I said, divisions, whether it's Hebrew Israelite, Moorish Science Temple, Moorish Zionist Temple, etc. And you have divisions within that. Nuwabians, Sabians, Nuwapians, etc. So, getting to the point about our language, we have to understand that we all had a language that unified us on the planet. We have to remember that we have a language that unified us all over the planet. What was that language? What language did we speak? If we understand it to be Adamic, and the Semitic languages today are descended languages or dialect from the first language, Adamic, which is a descendant form of our ancient language that we call cuneiform, because we failed to talk about the prehistoric Adam, the people that was here before your biblical Adam, which takes us to those tribes of people that was here before Adam in the languages that they spoke, which is simple cuneiform. Without going into all of the details about it, it's cuneiform. So we're establishing the fact that there's one language communicated between all of us, especially as human beings. Happy holy day, Brother Mo. I don't know if you're in the room. Yeah, he's in the room. Let me bring y'all up real quick. True peace, true peace. Happy holy day, y'all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy holy day. I'm already into tonight's sermon, and I'm going in about what we discussed this past week, Noble Rahim. Happy holiday, Brother John. So, like I said, we touching on the self-hate, the prejudice that we have for ourselves, the racist behavior that we have towards ourselves, the self-hate, where it stems from. So I was going into the fact that we have a language, an ancient language that connected us all, whether you want to call it Adamic as the first language, or you want to call it cuneiform, or what we call Nuwabic as the first language. So let's get into it. So as I'm saying, without getting into all the details, we are connected as a people through our ancient ancestors to this ancient language. And with all of the divisions that we have amongst our different groups of people, like I said, you have the Moorish Science Temple, then you have the Moorish Zionist Temple, which was a Jewish-based temple group of Moors. And then you had other Ethiopian Jewish congregations that came about. You have the Brothers of the UNIA of Mark Garvey. You have the Hebrew Israelite. You have the gods and goddesses. You have the Great Seal and the different parts and branches of the Moorish Science Temple of America. You have the Nation of Islam. You have the Nuwabians. So we have a vast array of different sects, faiths, beliefs, backgrounds, etc. of our people. We have a hard time understanding that we are indigenous peoples. No matter what your modern day faith is, whether you believe in Native American spirituality, indigenous African spirituality, or what they call traditional African religion. And like I said, there's no difference between spirituality and religion. Religion is just the physical part of the spirituality. Some people have spirituality as their religion. This is why we go into the message of the prophet from a universal standpoint. The prophet gave a universal message of what Islam actually is from its pristine purity. So the reason why I'm going into the language first, because we have to understand that it is the language that connects us all to one unit of people globally. We are humanity. We are humanity. And Adamic technically means the people of the earth. Simple and plain. So it's the first language is the language of earth. Keep it simple. And like I said, Adamic is a dialect of cuneiform, which is a star language, a language that came from the people or the star people, as the Native Americans would say. We are pygmy people. We are the cherubim people. Those great renowned men and women, even the giant, from the pygmy to the giant, from the phenotype to everything on down, it originated with the indigenous people. So this is why I'm touching on language first, because we have to look at what unified us as a whole before we go into anything else. And you get that by looking into language. If you don't look into language first, we won't ever get down to the bottom of what's dividing us and what's conquering us. Self-hate, the racism amongst ourselves. So this is why a lot of the terms that we use, it comes out in a manner keeps us divided. We speak a language of division, not distinction. It's okay. I'm not saying it's not okay to make distinction, but division, to divide us, keep us disunified. Self-hate, because when we're sitting here saying every week in the temple, we want to give honors to the forerunner, Honorable Marcus Garvey, but how many people in the actual temples actually heard the word and know the message of Honorable Marcus Garvey and what his actual message was about? Because if we go and look at the different temples and the things that's been initiated, there's not much political activity. There's not much political activity. You see, our people are disassociated with want to be politically active, civilly active at that. Because first things first, we do things that keep us in the status of being civilly dead as a people. Not saying what you do socially, but civics. civilly. We can call ourselves whatever we want to call each other socially, because black don't have the same standing as it does social wise as it does civil and under civic law, under the laws of civil rights and things like that. Two different things. Because to them, civilly, blacks mean something dead. Because according to their sciences, black means evil, bad, this, that, and the third. Which are things that have been set up by their political agendas, their religious agenda. And when we get into talking about religion, now you're diving into their social political custom. And their social political custom is to say that, well, everything that's black is deemed as bad. It's a caste system that comes from ancient Hindu peoples, which is a perversion, as we talked about before here in the temple. This is a perversion of the ancient Egyptian classification of the different skin tones and races of people that were all one people of the garden, which we will call Ganawa, which most people call Egypt and Kemet, etc. So I wanted to dive into the languages first, because if you can't communicate the language of God, you can't communicate the language of the higher ups, the higher intelligences, the divine forces of nature. How you going to communicate in the language of unity? How you going to communicate in the language of love? Especially, like I said, with the prophet giving us holy instructions for unity. So we have to understand how language plays a part, because once we get a hold to understanding what our languages are and the roots of those languages, then we can do better as a people. So I want to go over the tree of the language and the dialects that came out of the first language of earth. So this way we understand why there's division being caused us, even to the point that we say English is somebody else's language. But how how could that be necessarily if the languages that are being used all over the planet, or the dialects, I'm sorry, because I don't want to confuse the two, the dialects that are being used between all of us across the world all stems from one language. It all stems from one language. So let's get into the branches of that. So you have the Adamic, or the people of the earth, that first language. Then you have Ugaritic. And I think I went over this last Sunday, last newcomers gathering. I gave another quick breakdown of it, but we're gonna go into some details here, a little bit of the language. Then you have Ugaritic and Hindi, where you get the language of the Adamic people. And then that would give you your your Semitic languages, which is a mixture of what ended up being a mixture of Aramic and Syriac, Arabic. So you had your cuneiform that ended up becoming Hebrew, and your Hindi or Sanskrit, which ended up becoming Syriac Arabic. So when we say the Divine Mother and Heavenly Father, this ties you back to those branches, that divine language. Now you have coherence, but you have to be able to understand the root to get to that coherency, what they would call the day of Pentecost, where we're able to understand each other from all different dialects, speaking the same language. So let's jump right into the rest of this. So you have the Semitic languages that came later on with the Hindi, or after Hindi. Then you have Sanskrit. Then you get the Semitic languages, which would be Syriac, Aramic, and Hindu or Hindi. And then after those branches of languages, that evolved into Arabic, Chaldaic or Chaldean, and Akkadic or Akkadian language or dialects. I'm sorry. And then from those branches, you had Amharic, Hebraic, and Ugaritic languages that came. And after that, you had Coptic, Phonetic, and Urduric language that came. And then from there, you get Gazic, Nubic, and Latinic language or dialects. I'm sorry. And then you have Farsi or Farsic, and then English and Greek that came last on the tree of language and dialect. So when we even get into the point about speaking English, and English comes from Latin, and Latin comes from Urdu, which is a Moorish language. That's a Moorish language. So how can we say the language that we speak in today doesn't belong to us? Now, we may have been beaten to the understanding of our language, but that doesn't mean the language does not have a connection back to us as indigenous people. So getting into these divisions of us as a people, whether we're a matriarch, whether we're a patriarch, whether we're democracy, republic, theocracy, etc. You have all these different conceptual divisions. Egypt was a meritocracy. But if we get back to the root of it all of this was a newocracy, a newcracy. Because we're talking about a global political people, a global body politic of people who all spoke one language globally. And then it is recorded that you had a flood, and then people started speaking different languages and different dialects. So going in deeper, so we're gonna take a deep dive on this. We have your modern day division who are caught up in the spell of ignorance, the spell of sleep, as you refer to in the Bible, the spell of Leviathan, or the spell of the serpent, because that's what beguiling means. when you beguile, as it says, Eve was beguiled by the serpent. Let's put that in the chat. I don't know if y'all can hear me. If one of y'all want to put the word beguile, put a definition of beguile in the chat, so that way everybody can read it. Okay. I don't know, Mo trying to say something. I think he's about to jump back. But I'm gonna put the word beguile in the chat, so that way we can look to the definition there. Can one of y'all let me know if Brother Mo come back in the room? I don't know if he was trying to say something. So let me put that in the chat. I'm gonna read the definition. So yeah, the word beguile says charm or enchant someone, sometimes in a deceptive way. They even have a movie about the word called The Beguiled in 2017. So let's put the definition in the chat. Even though Wikipedia says to be subject to deception, to be subject to charisma, then they talk about a novel that was written called The Beguiled. Then you have the film. I guess that is connected to the movie. Let me put a better link in. It says flattery, charm, fascinate. Put the free dictionary for y'all, so y'all can read his insight. So, as it says in the scripture, Bible says the serpent beguiled the mother of all living. Trying to take the mic. So we get to the point that our divine mother, one of our divine mothers, had a spell of sleep and ignorance put upon them. And now that continues out through the generation, leading up to the first murder in the Bible with Cain and Abel. And Cain not wanting to be cast out of the sacred land into the other uncivilized land on the planet. So there had to be people who were at the time of what we call Adam and Eve, or Cadmon and Nekaba, that were around. And if these people spoke Hindi and the Adamic people spoke cuneiform, the language of the stars people, And Sanskrit is a perversion of Hindi as a written language and spoken language now, and was used to put a spell or an enchantment on our ancient divine mothers, and that's passed on down. Now we have our people who are under the spell of what we call Leviathan, the spell of sleep, the spell of ignorance, racial blindness, etc. This is even validated in the scripture. It talks about the serpent throughout the whole entire scripture. It talks about Leviathan in the scripture. It talks about the lack of knowledge all throughout the scriptures, how it will destroy you, how it creates the self-destruction, the hate, the fear, and the things that we're dealing with now. Because people are not moving and operating or vibrating on the frequency and principle and language of sound wisdom, sound right knowledge, sound right wisdom. So if we get to the point of where we're saying that the Moorish Zionist temple, for example, and the Moorish Science temple were a divided Moorish people, and that the Moorish Zionist temple was rejected by the Moorish Science temple, how could that be so if we have the Holy Quran Circle 7 and from the Prophet's own words it states that the Sephardic Jews are Moorish people, which are original Jewish people, one of the main branches of the original Jewish people. So that would mean that where would this rejection come from? Who gave the rejection? When we read every week that the prophet says, come set up your own temple, get your charter with your own law, your own customs and laws that are in conjunction with the prophet. Where would these rejections come from? Why would we reject our own? Same thing go for Native American tribes and groups. Have you really looked at the garbs that the prophet Noble Ali dressed himself in? The prophet Noble Ali was an Egyptian adept. So would that make Egyptians also, as he mentioned, the Hamathite people, also more? Where would the division come from? Unless someone is communicating this to keep us divided as a people. Where does the division come from? Which group of people are acknowledged as a sovereign theocratic government? It's us, the Moorish people of the Moorish Science Temple of America. There's a lot of people imitating the structure of the Moorish Science Temple of America, but they have not been publicly and lawfully acknowledged as a people, a government body politic of people, but claim to operate as Moorish Science Temple when it's the theocracy, the theocratic government that has been given the acknowledgement, which means it's a faith-based government body politic. Religious corporations came around before your state corporation, before statism came around into effect, which is considered secular government and legal scholarship, or amongst scholars of the law, especially in old jurisprudence, in the science of the law. So as we study Sharia as the Moorish Science Temple of America, which is simply the Torah, El's Holy Torah, or the Torah, Halakha, El Halik, Ha-Halik, the law, El Halik, however you want to say it, or Halakha, the law. These are the laws from Sharia to El Halakha. So understanding that we are the people of the book, the people of the Kitab, and this is what the prophet is talking about. Why would we reject our own people? Why would we reject whether you're native people when we are the indigenous people? We can read the messages from the prophet where he says in his prophecies and saying that Moors, you are already home. You already was here. Globally, we were here. Let's go back over chapter 45 again of the Holy Quran, circle 7. Because this is in the Holy Quran, circle 7, chapter 45. Called the divine origin of the Asiatic nation. And it reads, the fallen sons and daughters of the Asiatic nation of North America need to learn to love instead of hate, and to know their higher self and lower self. This is the uniting of the Holy Quran of Mecca for teaching and instructing all Moorish Americans, etc. etc. That means all other people. Continuing on, it says the key of civilization was and is in the hands of the Asiatic nation, the Moorish, who were ancient Moabites and the founders of the holy city of Mecca, the Egyptians, who were the Hamathites and of a direct descendant of Misraim, the Arabians, the seed of Hagar, Javanese, and Chinese, the Hindus of India, the descendants of the ancient Canaanites, Hittites, and Moabites of the land of Canaan, the Asiatic nations of North, South, and Central America, the Moorish Americans and Mexicans of North America, Brazilians, Argentinians, and Chileans in South America, Colombians, Nicaraguans, and the natives of San Salvador in Central America, etc. All of these are Muslim. The Turks are the true descendants of Hagar, who are the chief protectors of the Islamic creed of Mecca, beginning from Muhammad the First, the founding of the uniting of Islam by the command of the great universal God, Allah. All of these are Moorish people. All of these have roots and branches of indigenous people. Where are we divided except among fallacy, except amongst secularism, except amongst sectism? We was told and warned about sectism in the El's Holy Quran. We was warned about this in the El's Holy Quran. So when you get concepts like the Moorish Science Temple reject the Moorish Zionist Temple, etc., that doesn't make sense. Where's the proof? Where's the documentation? We got questions, if not more questions than the people who got questions for us. Especially when you say the Moorish Science Temple of America rejected the Moorish Zionist Temple of America. We got to make these things make sense. Or is there someone trying to keep us divided against us? So let's get into chapter 2 of El's Holy Quran, called Al-Kalam, the quill, or Noon, the true light, because that's what we here to bring. This is what we talked about last holy day. We'll touch on also with the fact that we're divided against ourselves. So you have the division. You have those that are not operating in the true light, and then you have those that are operating in Al-Nur. I'm sorry, Al-Nar, which is the false light, the amber light, not the true light of El-Nur, the whole of the knowledge. So let's get into it. Begin all things using the name of the source, Allah, the Rahman, who is the most merciful. So the commentary before we begin starts off, the light and the kalam, which the news bearers record, Muhammad, you are not possessed by a jinn. Your Aja will besides diminishing, you were created a supreme being. You will see the demented one. Your Rab knows who are al Muqtarin. Muhammad, don't obey the Muqsabin, Muqasabin, Muq. Yeah, that says Muqabin, the Muqabin. The associates wish that Ammar could be gentle on them. Muhammad is told not to obey every despicable swearer, like Walid ibn al-Mughirah. So that's the forward of the chapter. Let's go into that chapter, and it reads: the light and the kalam, quill, and what is recorded, they yastarun by it. You, Muhammad, are not by the grace of your master or sustainer, who is Rab, master Nusku, possessed by a jinn, a malevolent being. Nusku is Gabriy'El, y'all, by the way. So verse 3 says, and surely for you, Muhammad, is an arza, reward, mamnoon, besides diminishing. And surely you, barely you, are for the Most High, Anu, created as a Khaliq, Azim, a supreme being, Elohim. So you will tubsir, see, and they will also see, by which of you all are al-Maftun, the demented one. Surely your Muhammad, Ra, Master Nusku, is he who knows best, who strayed from his path, and he also knows best those who Muqtarin, guidance makes them calm. So don't obey the Muqazzabin, also it is Kazabin, Muqazzabin, with liars. They, those who associate with other deities of Muhammad's time, wish that if only you, Muhammad, would be Tudin, gentle on them, and in that they cause would be gentle. They will stop preaching and persecuting you, Ahmad. And Ahmad, don't obey every despicable swearer, which they're talking about here is Walid ibn al-Mughirah. So the next forward in the chapter is, he is a slander and a manna. He is also a zanim, I'm sorry. When Anunnaki signs are recited out, he says they are only asatir of the Elohim, the near. He will be marked by the Anunnaki on his Karim. The Meccans will be tried by the Elohim. The Tafir, the Taifa, encircled Galib's two sons' garden. The garden was cut down like empty fruit stick. So that's the forward commentary before we get into the next part of the chapter. Starting off at verse 11, it reads, chapter 2, verse 11, a slanderer, who they're referring to as Walid ibn al-Mughirah, was going about willingly backbiting. He is one who forbids mana, the doing of good, and a wicked doer of disagreeable act. Cruel, besides all that, a bastard, Zanim. He, Walid ibn al-Mughirah, is of an unknown father, of unknown descendants. Even if he possesses great mal, wealth, and many banin, sons, when the Elohim Anunnaki signs, the scriptures and tablets, were recited out to Muhammad, Walid ibn al-Mughirah, he said, these are but the recorded Asatir, fables of the ancient, the Denir, righteous, Elohim Anunnaki, or the 24 elders. We, the Elohim Anunnaki, will mark him on his al-Khartoum, trunk like nose, meaning he's a descendant of the Darrow. And the Darrow are those, if you ever seen the movie, if y'all ever watched the movie Blade, that is the big vampire that Blade had to put the light on. You know, Blade was frying him with the light in the movie. So if you haven't seen that, y'all want to go watch that so y'all can get a glimpse of what the Darrows, or who the Darrows are. So verse 17, surely we Anunnaki will try them, the Mecca, as we tried the companions of the Jannat, enclosed garden, the Shaitans, Luciferians, when they swore that they would pluck it fruit only in the sub early daytime hour. And they, the two evil sons of Galib, did not make an exception. So an encompassment, a taifa, tornado encircled it, the garden from your Muhammad's Rab, master, Nusfu. And this happened while they were not immune, sleeping. Then the garden became cut down like empty fruit. So going into the next board, it says, Galib's three sons called each other. They wanted to go early to their heart. Now that their father is dead, they will not feed the miskin of Saria, nor let them enter the garden to get free fruit. The sons were firm in their commitment. The sons admitted they went astray. The two sons realized they were the Marumamun of their own archer. The good son said, didn't he tell them to glorify Allah? The other two sons were Zalamim and started to blame each other. All right, so this is verse 21. All right. And it reads, so they, the three sons of Galib, awoke in the early daytime hour and called each other. Let's go early in the early daytime hour to your harvest, if you are to pluck. So they, the two evil ones, departed, conversing to each other in a whisper. Now that their father, Galib, is dead, they will stop feeding the poor of Syria, or Sardia. That none of us, the sons of Galib, will this day let any miskin, poor settlers, enter it, the garden to get free fruit. And they, the sons of Galib, set out early the next day, for they, the sons, were firm in their Karjarim commitment to prevent the feeding of the poor. So when they, the sons of Galib, saw it, the destroyed garden, they said, most surely we verily have gone astray. But the two disagreeable sons of Galib cried, in fact, we are the moon, deprived ones of our own archer. He, the good son, the more worthy of them, said, did I not tell you? If not, you should have to Zabuwr glorified. They, the two evil sons, said, glory be to our Rab, sustainer. Surely we were Zalamim, ones who were unjust. So then they, the disagreeable two, turned and began to Yatalawun, blame each other for their disagreeable attitude. So let's stop right there, because this is touching on, it's perfect alignment for what we're talking about today, because this is touching on with the story of what we're dealing with in today's time. The blaming of each other, the divide and the conquer, the fear, the hate, the division, where they're coming from. People that do not get into the true light of information, the true light of our knowledge, what we call al-nur. Then you have the amber light, which is the false light, the false information, the truth and falsehood strangely mixed. In Hebrew, the true light would be el noon, where you get the nucracy from. So this is why I said the first structure of our social, political, economic, and way of life is a nucracy. This is the divine political structure of nature itself. And in that type of structure, social, political, economical structure, there is nothing bad about black people, brown people, melanated people. We are the progenitors. We came along with nature, with this planet. So let's get into the next forward of this chapter 2. It says, they said, curse be on them. They are rakabun, for repentance. The pain of the end is greater. They are janat of naim. For those who tremble at the mention of the source, should the Elohim make the Muslims look like the guilty ones? How do you all judge? Or do you have a scripture in which you study? Or do you have consummated faith on the news bearer? So verse 31 reads, they said, curse be us. Surely we were Tahim, arrogant. Maybe our master or sustainer will substitute it, the garden, for us, with a better one than it. For surely we turn to our Rab, Raghabun, desiring for repentance. That was the sons of Galib, pain or penalty, and certainly the pain of the Akariya. The end is Akbar, bigger if they only knew. Surely for those who tremble at the mention are Janat, Al Nayim, gentle garden, in the possession of the Arab, Anu. Should we make the Muslims peacemakers look like they are the guilty ones? What is wrong with you all? How do you all takamun, use wisdom? Or do you all have katab, a scripture of your own in which you study, with promises? Surely for you all in it is verily all that which you takhayarun true. Or do you have Eman, consummated faith, on us, the news bearers, until the day of Qiyamah, resurrection? Standing surely for you, verily all of you shall have whatever you judge. So this next forward commentary states, Muhammad is act of which them are Zayim. If they have any binding partner, let them bring them. If they are Zodokite, on that day a leg shall be made bare, and they will be called to al-Sujud. On that day they will be humiliated and cursed with ignominy. The Elohim will overtake the Meccan if they do deny the hadith of Ghalib's 3 sons, Muhammad. Do you ask them for a reward that will overburden them with debt? Or do the Meccans have knowledge of the future? Muhammad, be patient, and don't be like Jonah in the grace of his Rab didn't reach. If the grace of his Rab didn't reach him, he would have been disgraced on the next shore. His Rab made him of the Salahim. So verse 40 reads, ask them, Muhammad, which of them can Zayim guarantee that, or do they have any shuraka, associates of the deity. So if they do, then let them bring Shurakahim, their associate, if they are Sadakim, Zodokite, or Sodokite, truthful, on the day when a leg will be made bare, and they shall be called upon to prostrate al Saju, but they will not be able to. Humbling Ka'ashia, their sight, abasement shall overtake them. They will not raise their eyes. They will be humiliated and cursed with ignominy, great personal dishonor. Certainly they, the Muslims, were called to prostrate while they were Salamun, peaceful, safe. So leave me with those who deny by this hadith the tale of Galib of the township of Syria and his 3 sons. So we, Anunnaki, will gradually overtake them, the desert Arab, Mecca, from Hate or Hayat, where they will not know. In respect for me, Muhammad, for them, surely my plan is my tin, firm. Or do you, Muhammad, ask them, desert Arab, the Meccans, for a reward that will mukalum, burden them with debt? Or do they have knowledge of Al-Gib, the unseen, know the future, so that they can write the future? So Muhammad, be patient for the wisdom of your Rab, who is master, sustainer, Allah, Anu, and don't be like the Sahib al-Hut, companion of the well, when he, Jonah, dove, which means dove, called out from inside the well, and he, Jonah, was in Makzum, deep period of sorrow. If the Nima, grace from his Rab, Yahuwah, or Yahweh, did not reach him in the whale's belly, verily he, Jonah, would have been cast forth on the Are, naked shore, and would have been Mazumu, disgraced. Then his Rab, Yahweh, Ajataba, chose him and made him of Al-Salahim, those who perfected themselves. So this next and his last 4 reads, those who kafaru want to kill you, Muhammad, when they hear the reciting, they say you are possessed with a jinn. The Qur'an is a reminder for the known world. So verse 57 reads, and those who kafaru conceal that which they know to be the fact are on the verge of tripping you. They want to hit and kill you, Muhammad, by their sight when they hear al-Dikaru, the reminder, and they say, surely he, Muhammad, is Majnun, possessed of a jinn, and it, the Dikaru, is nothing but a reminder for the known world. Surika Allahu El Azim. So who's the greatest? Who's the greatest? Allah's the greatest. So that hadith, which is an actual hadith of the Quran, is coming out of the Quran, and it's not what would be classified as a man-made tradition. This is ancient automatic writing that's being scribed and then made to be recited by Mustafa Muhammad Al-Amin by way of Gabriy'El, who came forward bringing a message to Muhammad. So if we get into the information that goes into this information, there should actually be understanding of how this information is connected to the Torah, especially with the master teacher and him coming in reforming the text for us to give us clarity, the clearest of clarities on this information, on this text, about what the mission was actually about. And the more and more we dive into El's Holy Quran and really dissect the information for ourselves, and we do it as a unit, you really get to see the insight that's being delivered from the Torah all the way back to even the book of dead, even the book of the dead, or the day of coming forth. So when we miss the message of the true light or the true purpose of what that person is actually communicating, we're missing the message of unity. We're missing the message of love, and we get caught up in these divisions and the things that divide us as a people. We start blaming each other for this, that, and the third. We're not healing our own internal flaws, issues, problems, etc. that we have amongst ourselves. This is how you measure the intelligence of a people, if they can solve their own problem. If they could solve their own issues. But can we as a people, as children, mulad, adopted sons and daughters of the divine, can we get it together? The foundation is laid. The foundation is laid. We don't need all of the conscious community rhetoric that keeps us divided. Because this is not about who has more knowledge than the other. And as it said, as we just read, they thought Muhammad was possessed by a jinn, because he's reciting what came out of the books before. He's reciting a portion of what's called the mother tab, Katab. That's only a portion. But now, after reading these stories of the ancient ones, he's supposed to be possessed by a jinn, because he's shedding true light on their actions, on their behavior, etc. Because when we go into this, you really get to see who's causing the division amongst our people. And at the end of the day, right is right, wrong is wrong. So we get caught up in taking up for those of our people that does wrong. We put all the blame on one race of people as if they're the only devilish people walking around here. If all of this started with indigenous peoples, then you have some indigenous demonic people walking around here who don't tap into nor subscribe to the ways of peace, the pristine purity of peace, submitting to the divine forces of nature, instead of using the divine forces of nature to manipulate others, the divine powers, the principalities, the ethics, to manipulate people, to deceive people, to beguile people. Truth and falsehood strangely mix. And take that to deceive people. Because you can take the truth and the falsehood strangely mixed and make people a better people, depending on how you're using it. But to tear people down with it, to gossip and create divisions amongst people with it, now you're participating in the ways of self-destruction, destruction. Like I said with the hadith of Ghalib's son, of dividing us as a people. This is why these ancient philosophical stories and histories of us as a people, this is why even in Africa they tell you that we used to tell our children's stories so they can learn morals, principles, and ethics. Some of these stories are partly fictitious, but they're based on real stories and real things that happen to people. Then we get out in the real world and we forget these lessons, or we act like we wasn't even told these lessons, or some of our people don't get access to even learning these divine wisdom, getting access to these sacred records, these Akashic records, especially the records of our people who came and accomplished these things that make up your Bibles, that make up your Qur'ans, etc. We don't get access to this, some of our people. So then we're destroyed and destroying ourselves for a lack of knowledge. And it's becoming even harder for the brothers and sisters that want to get out the hood, get out the traps that have been subscribed to them. It's making it even harder now, especially in modern day times with technology and etc, especially with the things that are going on. But we're looking at self-destruction. So the first thing I want to get into tonight for current events, I know it's not a lot of us in here, but the first thing I want to get into tonight for our current events is the Tyree story. If y'all heard about that, because it's been all over the news at this point, and a lot of people have been talking about it. I want to dive into that because that's the perfect example of what I'm saying tonight, as well as the fact that, you know, we have these divisions that are being said that keep us divided, you know, with spreading false information, things that have not actually happened, and we're taking other people's rumors that have been started and passing them along as wisdom, as sound wisdom, as right knowledge. And this is not the case. I would like to see the proof where the prophet rejected the people of the Moorish Zionist temple. What day did they come in? Who came in? What leader came in and talked to them? Talked to the prophet? Show us some proof, because there's a lot of writings and things that went amongst the members of the Moorish Zionist Temple of America, especially with the prophet, and between the members of the Moorish Zionist Temple of America. So what validation is there? Why would the prophet even do that when the prophet told you who are the peacemakers? He told you who are the Moorish people. So they would be considered Moors as well. So why would we deny our own when the prophet didn't operate on that? The prophet came in to help those that are considered Negro, Black, and colored, Ethiopians, etc. To help them understand their Moorish heritage, the heritage of being Aksum. Aksum. As well as what we understand today, especially in more and more modern day time, where we're starting to understand even more that a lot of these words that they came and started using against us wasn't even not even necessarily derogatory. They just got it and heard it from the grapevine and started communicating it in a derogatory tone. And now you have the same word separated in definition just by the fact of accents. The way somebody says it by accent. And this is what we learn when we read the introduction of El's Holy Qur'an. We talked about and read this the past 2 holy days. So this is why I say first thing first, we need to touch on language. We need to jump into the language. Because if the language was understood, then that would stop all the division. That would stop all of the the infighting in between. At least majority of it. We would be able to get on the same page. If we can get past all of the semantics, the different types of semantics. Especially today with the movements that we have, like secure party creditor, the sovereign citizenship, the patriotism, and understanding the communication of those type of things and how they're dangerous. Especially when you say the law says this and then you go look up that particular law and it does not say that. Because our people are beguiled, especially, if it's a nice looking person, man or woman, they'll be beguiled off top. They're not worried about the words that are coming out of that person's mouth. And if it's right knowledge, right wisdom for the right understanding, they just listening to them because they are beguiled. They are infatuated. Whatever the case, the individual case may be. This is why I say we're not a religious fanatic group, because we're not here looking for fans. We're not here looking for fanatical people. We can reach out to fanatical people, but our purpose, is to gather those men and women who feel that we should do better as a race of people. We're here to be a man of men and women, fishers of men and women. The main purpose of a lot of the messengers and prophets, especially Avatar or Prophet Yahshua, he said, those that are my brother and sister, my mother and father, are those who do the will of Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, the divine creator. Everybody is not out here doing the 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 righteous thing. Everybody's not out here following the will of the divine creator. That's not the case. It sounds good to say, everybody is this and all is this, but that's not always the case. We do have what's considered black devils, etc., on the planet. Now, when we talk about the entire kingdom as a people, this earth, to get this right, there has to be a coherent balance between all people. So when we understand the distinctions, proper distinction, then we can have proper discernment. But we're not here dividing between us as a people, because we are all the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good, the bad, the ugly. We're all here on this 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 kingdom, on this planet, and we come together to keep the planet, keep it protected, keep it orbiting, keeping it alive, to keep us here, to not get evicted, not just out of Ghanawa or the Garden of Eden, but the whole entire kingdom, this whole entire mansion, the many mansions that are in the bosom of the Most High. Because we can get to the unity that we have as a people, we can get to the raising up of the kingdom with our kingdom builders. But as it say, those who practice a lie shall not be let into the kingdom. This is talking about that new earth that is coming and developing. We we have people that think the new earth is concerning what we're seeing out here in this particular world today. No, it does not, has nothing to do with that. Those who have eyes to see will see. Those who don't simply don't. You will see the new world coming about and developing as we go. You see the technologies that's coming out to help keep people healed and eating better, living a more aesthetic life. And those aesthetics get better over time. Nature works in a progressive manner, not back. So even with all of these divisions, like I said, even today with the conscious community, all the debates that you have on YouTube and things like that. Now you have Clubhouse and all these different rooms and people going back and forth about this controversial topic, that controversial topic. This is not the conversation of those that are kingdom building. For as it is in heaven, it shall be on earth. So understand what that's talking about is the closing of the war that was taking place in heaven, that's taking place in reflection down here on earth. That war, as it comes to an end between the angels, the group of angels that do the will of Allah, and those group of angels that go against Allah, comes to a close. Because as we read in the in the Temple 101 questionnaire, what is an angel? An angel is a thought of Allah. So if you have a bad angel, that is still a part of the all in all. That's still a part of the mind of Allah, the source of Allah. So this is why I say we all come together to protect and build the kingdom. The whole entire planet. But those who practice a lot, they will not be let into the kingdom. Because they're doing everything that keeps them away from inheriting the vibrational frequency, walking into the new paradigm of the new earth, the new heaven on earth. Now they can protect it to keep the kingdom here, to keep this planet orbiting here, because as it say, the dead will bury the dead. Satan can't cast out Satan, so it's going to take those of us that follow the will to set the distinction, to show the discernment. This is why I say discernment and division is not the same thing. Because you want to have the right discernment to make sure you're going down the right path. Especially if you're looking to yield fruit, blessing, reverberation of your positive frequency, your positive energy, your higher frequency. That's not the same as the division. That is the proper discernment. Some people out here already know they're on a path of destruction, but they're willing to go through that destruction to protect the planet, to protect the kingdom, to make sure the work get done. So there is the distinction, but there is no division. We are all mulad, or children of Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. But these people, angels, principalities, ethics of the false amber light, because we are a people of truth and falsehood strangely mixed. We have our artificial, we have our organic, we have our official, then we have our artificial. Now, whether you're dealing with artificials that hurt or harm you, when we get to dealing with things that are superficial and superfluities, now we're talking about a whole, different thing. Discernment. Because you have things that are artificial, like artificial intelligence, other things like that, that could actually be a benefit to society, to humanity. Then you have the superficial things that are not necessarily a benefit in any form, way, shape, or capacity. So you're gonna have those divisions of people who divide and conquer, who creates the division, who divides themselves from the all, who tries to set themselves apart from the all. But where would you get? This is why in the scriptures, when we just read in El Holy Qur'an, it was saying, where are these deities that are gonna help you outside of the divine creator, outside the divine source? Did they create the heavens and the earth? Is that the energy that created the heavens and the earth? Or is that an idol? Which one is it? Is this the seven forces and septenary forces and powers of the universe, the Elohim, that you're getting in alignment with, the Elohim Anunnaki? Or is this some other deities that you're getting in alignment with? Some superficial energies, forces, Gregories, grimoires, fairy tales. They divide themselves. They may be sentient beings. They're conscious people. Everybody's conscious because everybody wake up and, get up and talk, move their arms, legs, etc., move their body, and operate the intelligence of their body, or the consciousness of their body. So, no, what that was. So,
Oh, it's me.
oh, that's you. You trying to say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say, about the news. If I heard anything, and you kind of hit on, the Rittenhouse case. Where that dude was protecting, I guess, during the riots a couple years ago. He was protecting like some automobile park from a bunch of skateboarders, and one of the skateboarders and then got into a fight. And the skateboarder, I guess, got shot by Rittenhouse, and he was only 17 out there with a gun. And right now, I guess the skateboarder's father is suing Rittenhouse, and there's, it's an ongoing case. But that's like the kind of division that's like, what's going on here? There's something deeper going on than just, protecting a car park, and be it, you got the gun owners and you got the skateboarders out there doing their stuff, graffiti artists and whatnot. And, you got two different modes of thought, creativity. It's all creativity. It's all the Most High's, art, but we're the ones who are, the hands and legs and arms and minds and feet to make use of that. And we are totally dealing with division. And I'd like to hear what you were going to say about the Trey case. I didn't hear anything about that either. But yeah, thank you.
No problem, brother John. No, thank you for contributing. Yeah, because I mean, as they say, I don't know how many officers exactly it was they said did the shooting, but that's just firsthand case that we as a people, we divided by these type of superfluity, superficial things, such as having a badge, being a part of a police force that let you exercise powers to where you could exercise false authority that you don't have over a brother. And you clearly, if you listen to the footage, anything like that, you hear that the brother was unarmed and was not a threat. He was not any way, shape, or form operating in the intent energy of Malum. No way. He didn't have a slight he didn't have a slight expression of malicious intent. I heard the audio. I watched the I didn't watch the video, but I heard the audio, and nothing that was being said sounded malicious. You see, so you have those superfluities and things like that. This is why I'm getting into distinction versus discernment. I mean, versus divisions, because of course we're going to have our thoughts. Everyone is going to have how they perceive. People learn different. Audio, mechanical, visual. People study different. So I want to get into having the understanding that we have our distinction, but let's not confuse that with things that create division, and showing how simple it is for us to get caught up in divisions, even with so-called good and so-called bad. This is why I went into that perspective about the agreeable and what would be called, considered disagreeable, and our warrior nature brothers and sisters. But those who practice those superficialities of life will not really get the purpose of the kingdom. Their mindset, the rumors that they hold on to, the lies that they practice and express, and the behavior of a living a lie, it won't allow them to gravitate toward the frequency of a new kingdom and a new earth. This is why I went into that, because something so simple like that could keep people divided. Gun protection law, the Republican versus Democrat, these things that keep us divided, that are not based on actual natural principles in nature, keeps us divided. So this is where we go from artificial things to superficial things, and these matters do not get addressed, and we don't go into the practicality of the knowledge and go into the practicality of these breakdowns and really dive in on what's being addressed to our people. So this is why I want to touch on that portion, because the first thing we went into tonight was language. And so when we're talking about that, this is the communication. This is whether it's verbal communication or just nonverbal communication. This is where the mishaps start to come into effect. So we have to get into what's artificial. We have to get into what's superficial and what is official. And the the fundamental basics of grammar. And that's just the language or the law of the language, the law of the communication, the law of the language. So you have your connotative, you have your deconnotative, you have your true light, you have your false light, you have your true information, and you have your false information. And this is what's being stated, even in our natural philosophy of things, that there will be a clashing of these things. This is, like I said, the war that happens or take place in space will happen in reflection here on Earth. This is what you have with the Crusades and all these things over time. So now, as we move forward and inch toward that new heaven on Earth, as the truth begins to take its full, complete reign again, because you have seasons of time where the 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 frequencies and things like that are sped up, and people are not paying attention to fundamental truths. Then you have those times where things that are artificial or superficial will not last long. So now you have to pay attention more to the truisms of nature, the facts of nature. So now, as we move into more of a solomancy type, way of life versus a lunamancy, and everything is just based off of, being able to beguile people or and do enchantments of trickery. What we call trick knowledge, right? to trick people, to manipulate people, to deceive people in a magical kind of way, in a sorceress type of way. And this is being done alchemically. But we have to realize that with discernment, we can't get caught up in that alchemy is all bad. No, alchemy is a tool, is a structure. So having that discernment and knowing that you could use the principle, the power, the source, tapping into the divine creator for the right purposes. Because like I said, what is an angel? Going back to the temple 101s, the questionnaire of the temple. What is an angel? An angel is a thought of Allah. So that would mean we have to go into some distinction, because isn't there not good angels and bad angels, or agreeable angels and disagreeable angels? What about the angels that followed Lucifer or Shaitan, as we just mentioned or read into the Qur'aan? And we can't just say that's just for religion, because you have Nech, you have etc, all these other things that are explained even in spirituality, low frequency, lower self, etc, those concepts of distinction. So this is why I went into that portion, because I want to make it as colloquial as I can and practical as I can for us to understand. So let's get into these holy instructions for the night, y'all, because we really dive deep, and I think I touched home on what needs to be touched on. But I really do want us to really be angels of the true light, be seekers of the true light, to be citizens of the true light, which we are a true light society. So understanding that us as patrons, templars, etc, and adepts of the true light, the right knowledge, the right wisdom for the right understanding, we have to be divine warners of the truth, because these things will catch up with us as a people. These things will catch up with us as individuals, as a whole, as a community. And this is what we're having today. We're facing all of the miscommunication, all of the false information that's being spread, and by way of transmission, by way of communication, by way of how we're living, our behavior, even going down to the point of having the wrong mindset. When your mindset is out of whack, you start attracting the wrong people. So this is why I'm going into it, because portion of it, like I said earlier when we started, portion of it could be fear, portion of it could be self-hate, portion of it could be other reasons, bad mindset, other things that are causing these divisions. Because in order to get to that clarity, that El Noon, that true light, we have to learn the language, whether that's self-communication, whether that's communicating with other people, communicating between us and the source. We have to learn the language. We have to learn the commandments, the statutes, the ordinances, the behavior, mannerisms, etc. So we could be in divine alignment. So we need a lot of spiritual information. We need a lot of high frequency knowledge and information to really be poured into, whether it's official or artificial. We don't need the superficial, but we need high frequency information that brings us together. So that way we can accomplish the mission that needs to be accomplished at hand. Bring people home to the divine and national movement, because this is what's being signaled for. But if you're just mentioning it and you're not joining in, what does that look like? So come in, especially for those that are rogue Moors, that understand that they're Moors. Even the master teacher was a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and he was a student under Noble Drew Ali. So even if you are in the Uniting the Wahabian Nation of Moors or whatever it might be, y'all are tied to the Moorish Science Temple of America. You are tied to the movement of the Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. So it don't matter if we're Nawabians. It don't matter if we're Ansarullah. It doesn't matter if we're Nubian Islamic Hebrews. None of these things matter if we're talking about nationality. That means we do just as the master teacher would want us to do, following in the footsteps of the master, and we step in the square and on the square with our brothers of the Moorish Science Temple of America. If not, get involved by being card-holding members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, especially as royalty of the Moors, as the master teacher was, or any other body of people, whether that's Nation of Islam, etc., Hebrew Israelites, etc. Connecting with our brothers and sisters of the Moorish Zionist Temple, etc. Garveyites, it does not matter. We have the public and lawful acknowledgement as a sovereign theocratic government. It does not matter what your faith to faith what your faith to faith is. That's in the book of Corinthians. We as indigenous people have to understand that the Bible is made up of our ancient African proverbs, our ancient American proverbs, our ancient Asiatic proverbs. It's concerning us as indigenous peoples. And we walk through the languages and their branches and roots. All languages have a birthday. We walk through the origins of us as Moorish people, as indigenous peoples. And who are those people? So let's get into these holy instructions. Like I said, we went over our civic education today, which is the study of theoretical, political, and practical aspects of citizenship, as well as the rights and its duties. We went over civil law, civil code, and the study of government with the attention to the role of our citizens, our global citizens at that, as opposed to just external factors in the operation of government. So we're talking things that are internal. These are internal things, especially when we're talking about the language and how we communicate, the disunity, the dissension, the self-hate, the divide and conquer, the rumors, the things that are being said. I don't like this group of people because such and such and doing, this, that, and the third. How about we have our civic engagement and engage amongst each other? So this is a part of our civic virtues, which is the cultivation of our temple customs and things like that. And then the civic engagement, which is communicating with each other, especially about current events, as we did before we got in, going into these holy instructions. And this goes all the way back to the Bronze Age, and before that with the Mesopotamian kings, ancient Chinese and Japanese emperors, as well as the ancient Egyptians. So, as we know, Friday is the holy day. O ye who knew, when the call is proclaimed to supplication on Friday, the day of assembly, hasten earnestly to the remembrance of the Heavenly Father and Divine Mother, and leave off business and traffic. That is best for you if you but knew. And when prayer is finished, then may ye disperse through the land and seek the bounty of God and celebrate the praises of God of 10 and without stint, that ye may prosper. So that's verse 62. I'm sorry. That's chapter 62. That's chapter 62, or Surah 62, ayat 9 through 10, or verse 9 through 10 from the Holy Qur'an. So, as we know, all chaplaincy, temple services, and meetings ought to be open and closed promptly according to Circle 7 and to the Circle 7 and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims and peacemakers all over the world. This is according to Act 2 of the Divine Constitution and bylaws by the Prophet, Noble Ali, which states all temples and subordinate temples are to conduct holy day service every Friday, starting promptly at their respective time and ending promptly at their respective time. All civilians, patrons, denizens, prospects, and ministers are expected to attend the temple for the Friday holy day temple service and meet. On Fridays, the Moorish American, Moorish Asian, and Moorish African Muslims and peacemakers all come together to supplicate and to illustrate that which Allah has blessed them with. The temple services are open according to divine love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. At no time will templars, adepts, ministers, patrons, or outside congregational guests be allowed to disrupt the holy day service. Nor will civilians be admitted under the influence of alcohol or any severe intoxicant. All templars, adepts, and civilians attending the holy day service must have their heads covered with either a turban, fez, or kufi, or spiritual cover. Baseball caps should not be worn in the temple. The Sunday school temple service and meeting is mandatory, and all Moorish nationals, templars, and temple denizens must promptly attend the temple service and send their children to the Sunday school gathering, and the teacher must conform himself or herself to the Temple 101 questionnaire, and let every civilian man, woman, and child exercise his or her five senses who is able to do so. Because from out your Sunday school comes the guiders of the nation, and now the entire village. According to Act 5 of the additional bylaws by the Prophet Noble Ali, every subordinate temple should have 2 Sunday school gatherings held. The first meeting should be 1 to 2 hours before the adult service. Children's Sunday school should be conducted by a director of the children's Sunday school and program. The Sunday school gathering is designed to assist the temple in learning the Temple 101 questionnaires and developing an understanding of just what these holy keys mean and how they are to be applied to our everyday life. The Divine Constitution and bylaws, along with the Moorish prayer, the Holy Covenant of the Asiatic nation, El's Holy Injiyl, El's Holy Qur'aan, and the civic lessons of the Holy Temple of Moorish science, are also subjects of major concern for the apprentice who is trying to complete his or her mandatory requirements for pronouncing their temple civilianship and global nationality. All lessons for adult Sunday school gatherings must be prepared by a Grand Sheik, a divine minister, or an assistant Grand Sheik. Lessons by us called novites or additions may be submitted to the apprentice for completion and returned to the temple. Once the lessons are completed and graded, they must be placed in the active members' temple district file. The Sunday school temple service and meeting is a wonderful opportunity to study the liturgy, teachings of the prophet. No civilian is to become disruptive during the Sunday meeting. All templars must bring paper and pen to the temple service and meeting along with the basic temple literature and assignment. No templars or patron is to eat food or snack food or other snack during the temple service or meeting, but water is permitted. All Templars must attend their Sunday temple service and meeting as diligently as they attend their holy day temple service and meeting. Both were called out for by the Prophet Noble Ali, and is required as a matter of temple law. According to the Divine Constitution, Act 7 in part, all Templars must promptly attend their temple services and meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and now also Moorish Science Temple of Africa and Moorish Science Temple of Asia, and in joining world islands on behalf of all indigenous people. For membership, any heads of temple of all temple jurisdictions are not to charge for naturalization or to overcharge for cards, buttons, or anything issued by and through the Prophet. Those who contribute to any of the proceedings are not Moors, civilians, or patrons, but robbers. Temple nationality and membership in the Holy Temple's vast estate, which we call a public beneficiary trust, sisters and brothers, kin and kinfolk, is free, not only here but all over the world. All kin and kinfolk desiring to become a civilian of a subordinate temple must read the message from the temple secretary and download the application for naturalization, or acquire the application for naturalization, which can be found on our website, holytemples.org, that we had pinned up at the top of the room just a little bit earlier. The Secretary of the Temple's jurisdiction will help all newcomers by explaining the naturalization affidavit and application for membership in the Temple's vast estate or public beneficiary trust to the new prospective civilians of the Temple's vast estate or public beneficiary trust, and arranging for him or her to be consulted by the Royal Council of said temple or subordinate temple. The Royal Chairman or woman will set the date for the new temple prospect to be interviewed by the Royal Council. The new temple court civilian, upon completion of the Royal Council consultation at the newcomers gathering, which is Sunday school gathering, on Sunday, the new templars will proclaim their temple nationality at the next upcoming Holy Temple gathering. After the new civilian prospect proclaims his or her nationality, they will be given the mandatory requirements necessary to earn their free national name and royal title of nobility as a true American royal. These requirements are as follows in accordance with chapter 47 of the Moorish Circle 7 Holy Qur'an, called Egypt, the capital dominion of the Empire of Africa. The Moorish Prayer, chapter 25 of the Moorish Qur'an, called the Holy Covenant of the Asiatic Nation, including the Temple 101 questions for Moorish American, Moorish African, Moorish Asians in Africa. The Divine Constitution and bylaws, the additional laws, and the precepts, statutes, and ordinances from El's Holy Torah, El's Holy Injiyl, El's Holy Qur'an, the Holy Tabernacle Family Guide, and also the Holy Tablets through our Civics 101 course in the Global Interdependent School District, or Sacred Halls of Learning, which we call University, for everyone of the global village. Once a new civilian or templars has learned these additions or lessons verbatim, or to the best of their ability, he or she will be interviewed by the Temple's Royal Council as the chaplaincy to determine if the new civilian is qualified to represent himself or herself as a faithful Moorish American, Moorish African, and Moorish Asian Muslim, or any indigenous peacemaker, and communicated to the ignorant for their instructions, and communicated to the wise for thine own improvement. Once the new civilian or templars has cleared the mandatory requirements of the Royal Council, he or she will be naturalized by the Grand Sheik and Divine Minister of said subordinate temple. So that makes up our holy instructions for joining the Moorish Science Temple of America. So it's not all of these things that people claim changing your status has to deal with. And like I said, we're going to keep saying this and getting this information across to our people till we turn blue in the face. Because all of this jibber jabber, that's what it is, that's going out to our people about status correction and changing their status. When you change your status, that is a political thing. So you're changing your status from being looked at as a civil little mortus, which now you're not civil little mortus anymore. You're still you can still be considered civil little mortus because you're looked at as a stateless person or a refugee. But also you have your acknowledged independence, which we just went over Juneteenth and what they call Black Independence Day. So now that you have this independence, you still have to come in and structure your body politic, your nationhood. So yes, we are citizens, but citizens without a name, without a nationality. So to really get the proper understanding of that, you have to go back and study the origins of America. We're Native American. We're indigenous American. So when you're born in this country, you have your statehood and then you have your nationality. So if you're in Texas, you're either a Texan or Philadelphian, etc. You're in Africa, you're an African, which is a continent. So technically, if you're in Nigeria, you're a Nigerian. If you're in Ghana, you're a Ghanaian. If you're on the continent of Africa, you're considered an African. If you're on the continent of America, you're considered an American. But when we talk about nationality of people, you have European Americans, you have Chinese Americans, you have Filipino Americans. Then they call us African American. Well, some of us are Moorish American because we were already here before what you call Africa or Apraka in our language, in our African traditional language. So let's get into our holy Shahada, which is basically a proclamation of your nationality or nationality procedure, where you pronounce your nationality, which will be held on Holy Day for all civilians, denizens, Templars, peacemakers, and or Muslims all over the world. During the ceremony, the new civilian or Templars will be ordained an El Bey or Day and given his or her royal peerage title of Ken, Honorable, Lady, Nin, Naya, Prince, or Princess by a Grand Sheik or Divine Minister, and also receive his or her nationality card and button from the Divine Minister of the Grand Major Temple. Upon conclusion of the nationality proclamation, the Grand Sheik and Divine Minister will have the civilian Templars and Temple prospect stand while he or she reads the authority of the Moorish Science Temple of America. It is by virtue of the Religious Corporation Act document that can be found in Pur's revised statute that gives the Moorish Science Temple of America, Asia, and Africa the authority to restore the nationality and birthrights of the lost Asiatics of America, Asia, Africa, and all world islands, and give them the title to their vast estate inheritance. The Grand Sheik or Divine Minister is to read from the card and have the new national state, Allah is God, and Noble Drew Ali the Prophet. And I am Moorish American, African, or Asian, and or world islander. This is our Moorish clarification of faith, or Shahada, in our national pledge of allegiance. The new civilian or Templars free national name should then be added to the Temple's Book of Life as they enroll in our Civics 101 course, which is the link that's pinned up at the top of the room. The nationality ceremony should be conducted by the Grand Sheik and Divine Minister or any other Divine Minister so designated by the Grand Sheik and Divine Minister in his or her time of absence, and most notably by the Assistant Grand Sheik and Divine Minister. The nationality card and naturalization application must be signed bearing the name and title of the Grand Sheik or Divine Minister who issued the application and card and the date of its issue. The Religious Corporation Act has deemed the Global Interdependent School District and the Incorporated and Chartered Moorish Science Temple of America Africa, and Asia as a religious trust and theocratic government established in 1928 on August 20th. This religious trust is the true global trusteeship system for the Holy Family of Nations, forming the global nucleus. So I ain't even still come in. So as we get into the point of joining the Moorish Science Temple of America, as I mentioned, we were already here. We were already here. We was all over the planet as Moorish people. Whether you're talking about from Malian Empire, Mauritania, etc. Moorish people were already here. Even going back to the Articles of Confederation and the government. The first president is John Hanson. You already had a Moorish or black president. So these are the things we need to talk about on Black History Month. These are the things that need to be talked about. Our ancient Egyptian structure and history, which you find ancient Egypt here in America. You find ancient Egypt in Asia. You find ancient Egypt, of course, in Africa, but all over the world. We don't need to have divisive debates whether Egypt was here in Memphis, America, or in Africa. It was here and it stretched all the way up to over there. What's the problem with that? We debating on what side was built first. So these are the things that we got to look out for as a people. But we want to understand nationality. And if we're staying here in America, on the continent of America, in the country of America, then we want to put our nationality out front and first. So as we say, we are Moorish American. We are Moorish American. We are Native American. We are the indigenous people here. We're not just called the first Americans, which is what Native mean, or the original Americans, because that's all you're saying. Native, you're originally American. Yes, we are originally American. We're native to this land. We're indigenous to this land. So when we get into the facts of this, we can really dive into the fact that we have to understand who we are. We know who we are. We have the knowledge. We have the wisdom. We have the data. We have the metric. We have public and lawful acknowledgement. So bring it home. Time to bring yourself home. It's one thing just speaking on the knowledge and knowing who we are, but come into the fold. Are you a card-holding member of the Moorish Science Temple of America? Do you have a branch temple home of the Moorish Science Temple of America? And if you need a branch temple home, because we have a lot of rogue Moors out there, you have one here with us. But if we're not setting the example, if we're not following the holy instructions of inconsistency, then how can we get to where we need to go if we can't even be consistent with our faith? Well, we congregate about our soul. It's one thing just to look cool, get acknowledgement, get fans, get followers, etc. But whose plan are we following? As we know, as it says in the Holy Qur'aan, those are the false light plan a plan, but the Most High Subhanahu wa Ta'ala plans a greater plan. So who plan are we in alignment with? Because people want to know what the purpose is. Well, you should have read the stories of the ancient ones. Where do you find those? in the scriptures, in the canonical scripts. Simple. You find it on the pyramid wall. You find it in the hieroglyphs that have been left by us as a people. But until we get into the language, we would know how we're being misguided or beguiled and continue to be misguided and beguiled. And we're around the wrong type of people. Because if you want to make it to the kingdom and you want to build the kingdom, or you want to build the kingdom, you want to protect the kingdom, but do you want to be in the kingdom? And that's all up to you and your discernment. And if you're going to stay with those who divide, those who are kafaru, those who conceal what they know to be true, who separate themselves from the truth, who separate themselves from that which is official. So it's one thing to talk about being official, but are you a part of an official body of people? So this is what I wanted to wake us up with, take us home with today. Hope y'all enjoyed y'all stuff. Y'all couldn't be anywhere in the world, but y'all are here with me, Dr. Lawiy, the Grand Sheik. We will be uploading this to YouTube. So if you're following from YouTube, go ahead and subscribe, like, send us donations, etc. Whatever you feel free will offerings. We will be here next week, continuing to do the great and divine work that needs to get done. So with that, I want to go into some of the literature for prophet before we close out for tonight. So this is a message from the prophet to the members, the citizens of the Moorish Temple of America, Islam. This is also instructions from the prophet. The prophet says, "Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Drew Ali, and that's why many hearts have been turned to stone, and many have eyes to see, but cannot see, ears to hear, but cannot hear, lest they would be confounded of their sin. These are the trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they're trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefather, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temple. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. True peace, your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali." Right, that message coming from the prophet to the members of the temple, even if you are a guest member of the temple, because you got people out there that's keeping you from making your first step, from taking your shahada, from being active, getting around active temple members, participating even in the school, in the course. What's holding you back? Like I said last holy day, we should be in school, especially as adults. We're gonna be in school for the rest of our life. You don't just stop school when you stop, getting your good European education, as the prophets say, and you go into your public school. You still, especially when you wake up to the knowledge of things, you go through, those that's going through their enlightenment, some's going through their endarkment. Whatever you're going, whatever phase you're going through, you're in school. You're going through the degrees of knowledge. So, like I said, if you need a temple home, you have a temple home here, branch temple number 24 of the Moorish Temple of America. We are a global branch temple of the Moorish Temple of America, and we're teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they will learn to love instead of hate, and come and link themselves with the family of nations. We honor all true and divine prophets. So the prophet has this message that he spoke to all the nations, all the nations, all the tribes, all the people of the earth, all the people that's part of the holy family of nations, all the nations. Prophet said, if you have race pride and love your race, join the Moorish Temple of America and become a part of this divine movement. Then you will have power to redeem your race because you will know who you are and your forefathers were. Because where there is unity, there is strength. Together we stand, divided we fall. Come, good people, because I, the prophet, sent to redeem this nation from mental slavery, which you have now, need every one of you who think that your condition can be better. This is an open field to strong men and women to uplift the nation and take your place in the affairs of men. If the Europeans and other nations are helping me, why not you? It's your problem, the Negro problem, is being solved only as it can, and that is by the Moorish National Divine Movement. If you have a nation, you must have a free national name in order to be recognized by this nation as an American citizen. This is what was meant when it said, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things will be added, unto you by the prophet. So seek ye first the kingdom. There we go again with the kingdom. Seek ye first the kingdom. So you're gonna have people who don't do that, conscious or not, aware of things or not, intelligent or not, smart or not, active or not. But this is what the mission is of the divine and national movement. This is what the movement is about. Heaven on earth, peace, a world of peace, making America a rich and prosperous nation through the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Not stealing, conniving, bastardization, etc. None of that. So let's get into the divine warnings from the prophet that we're supposed to read in every temple service. Change the link at the top of the room so that way you want to make donations or join in, pay your dues, etc. You can go ahead and do that. Put the link up here. Yeah, don't forget to get active in the school. School is the most important thing. Not just the Patreon. This is how we know you're an active member. Because you're in the Patreon, you're in the school, especially making this your temple home, because now you can say, well, I went through the lessons, I'm on the Patreon, I'm paying my dues, I'm active in the work, I'm doing the work that need to be done. You get to create content. I can upload it to the Patreon, especially if you're creating private content for members of the temple. So let's get into these divine warnings and messages from the prophet. Then we can close it out. Right. The prophet said, Islam, I'm glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There's a host of jealousy about me and the movement, now by the same people of our side of the nation that claim that I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nation of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me, so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me will be remembered. To me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world would not recognize the movement without me, the prophet, being here. It has been proven by my work, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet Noble Drew Ali. All right, all right, all right. So if you want to make donations, like I said, you can use the link that's pinned up at the top of the room. Our cash app is the money symbol World Temple, ETC. And if you want to donate Bitcoin, I'll send you our Bitcoin wallet. Just back channel me, those that would like to send Bitcoin. But let's get into this last divine warning from the prophet, mandatory warning from the prophet, and we can close out tonight with prayer. So the prophet said, I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical speech while at work, in their homes, or on the street. We're for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your card at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. When these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found it. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali, and if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet therefore is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. True peace, Noble Drew Ali. Right, y'all, I'm going to close us out with the Moorish American prayer. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all night. Before I go into the prayer, anybody got any last contributions they want to make? Anything like that you want to touch on or share before we close out? Y'all some time to come to the mic. I'm going to close. All right, well, y'all know how it go. 2 fingers up, 5 fingers up. Feet at a 45-degree angle facing the east. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Amen. True peace, y'all. Wadu. Y'all have a great, great holy day. The rest of y'all holy day. Come back next Friday and this Sunday, newcomers gathering. We will be here, and I will be putting it on YouTube. So those that will be listening from YouTube, go ahead and like, subscribe, make donations to the links that's in the description, and y'all can join also that Patreon link that's in the description as well. And with that, y'all, over and out. Much love. Want to give honors to the divine creator, Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. I want to give honors to the prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I want to give honors to the forerunner of the prophet, Honorable Marcus Garvey. I want to give honors to brothers like C.M. Bey, Hakeem Bey, Clarence 13X, Yahweh Ben Yahweh, Ben Ami, Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the messenger, as well as the master teacher. I want to give honors to all y'all who came in attendance tonight that stopped through, peeked your head in, or stayed here with us. I want to give honors to all the adepts and members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And last but not least, I want to give honors to all things Moorish. And with that, Wadu, two peace, one love.